Welcome to Hockeywiztalks podcast. Today I'll be talking about breakout players and sleepers in fantasy football. Breakout players in fantasy football. Baker Mayfield. Now that Mayfield is surrounded by star receivers, he should have a great season. Mayfield and OBJ should be a deadly duo. So for that reason alone, Mayfield should blossom into a stud. He could be taken as early as the 6th round. Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones averaged 12.1 fantasy points per game last season in 12 games played. He enters this season as the workhorse for the Green Bay Packers and should have a breakout year. Aaron Jones should be taken in the 3rd round. Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs has really high expectation heading into his rookie year. He is slated to be the #1 running back for the Oakland Raiders this season. Expect Josh Jacobs to be drafted in the 4th or 5th round. Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton is expected to be one of the go-to receivers for Joe Flacco, along with Emmanuel Sanders. Sutton seems to have developed chemistry with Joe Flacco, so he should be his favorite target. Expect Courtland Sutton to be drafted in the 7th round. Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson was one of the most under-the-radar fantasy studs last season, but it wasn't really talked about. Heading into this season, Anderson is the #1 receiver for the Jets, and should be in line for a breakout year. Expect Robbie Anderson to be drafted in the 5th round. Denver Broncos defense. The Broncos already had a great pass rush with just Von Miller. Now with the emergence of Bradley Chubb, the Broncos will have a double-headed monster and other teams' QBs will be constantly under pressure. Denver's defense is ranked pretty low, so he can probably draft the Broncos defense in the last couple rounds. Hunter Henry. Before tearing his ACL in 2017, Henry was already dominant in his first year, so there is no reason to think he won't continue dominating. Also, Philip Rivers loves throwing to his tight end, so that gives Henry more fantasy value. Expect Hunter Henry to be taken in the 5th round. Sleepers in fantasy football. Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold might not even be drafted in fantasy drafts, but he should because of his potential. With the addition of Le'Veon Bell, the Jets' offense is much improved, and that should help his development. Sam Darnold is a sleeper because there is a chance he won't get drafted at all. Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard is set to be the workhorse running back for the Philadelphia Eagles this season. In the last 2 seasons, he averaged at least 900 rushing yards, so there is no reason to think he won't reach at least that number this season. He is a sleeper because he is ranked lower than he should be. Tyreek Hill. Because Tyreek Hill is suspended for the first 4 games of the season, he is ranked quite low. But don't forget about Tyreek Hill, because when he returns, he will still be a deadly fantasy weapon. Tyreek Hill can still be drafted late in drafts because some managers aren't willing to wait those 4 weeks. But for the managers that are, they will be handsomely rewarded. Peyton Barber. Peyton Barber could be the lead rusher for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. Some within the Buccaneers organization believe that Barber has a slight edge over second-year running back Ronald Jones. Barber is a sleeper because he isn't on most people's fantasy radars, but he should be. Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson may not be the same player he once was, but he can still be a great receiver for the Eagles. Jackson has shown no signs of slowing down, so he can still be a dangerous deep threat receiver. Deshaun Jackson is a sleeper because despite being quite consistent year after year, he is ranked quite low. David Njoku. David Njoku is the forgotten player in the Cleveland Browns offense. He already had good chemistry with Baker Mayfield last season, so he should only get better. Njoku should have a better season than some of the tight ends ranked ahead of him, like Vance McDonald and Evan Ingram. Seattle Seahawks defense. Seattle Seahawks defense are ranked 11th in fantasy this season, but they deserve to be ranked higher. Their defense isn't what it once was, but they are still a solid defense, and they should still strike some fear into opponents. Seattle's defense is being slept on, and not many people are talking about them. On my next podcast, I'll be talking about fantasy football draft advice.